Welcome back to the Fantasy Rugby Draft podcast. Thanks for downloading and listening. I'm Bruce Wilkinson, and joining me again in the booth is the man primarily made of moss, Nathan Mossman. How are you, sir?
Kind of forgotten how this works. It's been a while. We sit around and we talk about reality TV, Kardashians or something. Is that what we do?
Yeah, I think so as well. What have you been doing over the international break?
Oh, just catching up on my Housewives of Orange County and listen to a little bit of Taylor Swift and just all that good stuff.
It's one of those where you get a little bit of goodwill banked with the wife. You've got a big tough period ahead of you with a few games, and you've got the internationals, the rugby championship. So grab it while you can, get a few dinners in, do a bit of shrubbery, cleaning a few bits and pieces of the house, bit of painting, trying to make it a bit goodwill.
The other thing I spent it doing was not knowing who to support in the England-Australia series.
That was a tough one, wasn't it?
It was a difficult one. Good series, though.
Yeah, great series. Turns out Owen Farrell can kick goals.
Who knew it?
Absolutely. We're recording this on Thursday, the 30th of June. We're going to preview semi-final game week 1 for Fantasy Rugby Draft. A reminder to those that didn't see our Facebook live session on Monday that Mossman and I are going to head down to the pub tomorrow before the Chiefs Crusaders game and answer your start bench questions with a Facebook live session. Tune in about 6:30 on Friday evening. See if you can help you with those last minute decisions. There's going to be a few teams that are named overnight and even late on Friday as well, with the Bulls, Hawaras. So we'll feed you questions there. We'll do about 30 minutes leading up to the game week lock. Bit of news. Actually, not so much news, just a little bit of admin for those folks who are new to the semi-finals. Again, it's a 2-week semi-final, so it's over 2 weeks. The points accumulated, and you can change your lineup between the game weeks. And on to news now. So since Monday, where we had our Facebook Live and we announced a few injuries, Warren Whiteley is also out for the Super Rugby season now, which I think a few folks were relying on. We haven't got a Lions team yet to see who's going to replace him, but that's a pretty devastating blow for the Lions, actually, and also for Fantasy Rugby Draft managers. And the other note I have here is not too, well, I guess it will have fantasy implications, but not necessarily for this year, but Jet Li to the Highlanders. What do you make of that?
Oh, huge news for martial arts fans in the Auckland region. But other than that, it's a bit of a who cares for me at the moment.
Yeah, you know what this kind of says to me? This says to me that Patrick Osborne's 29. He's given up his opportunity to try and play for the All Blacks. He's dedicated to Fiji. I suspect he might be looking overseas, and I wonder if the Highlanders know about that. And they've been privy to something like that. I
thought the same thing. I went looking for this, but I actually think he might be going to Japan, but will come back.
Yeah, he's definitely going to Japan, but I would not surprise me to see another contract come his way. Now, I'm not coming from a position of authority. This is just rank speculation, which is effectively what we do for the last couple of years, so I don't know why we change. But yeah, I just got that feeling, maybe putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 12. Don't know. We're going to keep this podcast pretty brief, as we need to get back into the bunker and keep pounding that rock. We'll still, as I say, we'll field your start bench questions over social, so we probably won't get into too many of them tonight. Or if you're around tomorrow at 6:30, then send it through. First up, Chiefs Crusaders. Big news for me, I guess. I was a bit surprised to see Stephen Donald starting. How do you say, Mr. Chiefs supporter?
I think what's happened here is that the Crusaders are contractually obliged to win this game, and with a hat-trick from Nadolo. So as part of that, the Chiefs obviously coming to play and doing their part. They've opted to bench arguably their best player and put Donald in there. So your guess is as good as mine. I can only assume that's just part of the contract.
Yeah, it's pretty strange to me. I thought Aaron Cruden, it was a neck injury / head injury, wasn't it, in that test match? So it looked to me as though you're either kind of fit or you're not fit. And he's been named on the bench. So it was a little bit surprising to me that it almost smacked. You know what it reminded me? I had a run this morning. That's probably not what it reminded me of. But as I was running, I was thinking about Thierry Henry and what Arsene Wenger used to do at Old Trafford. And he used to go up there and he used to bench Thierry Henry with the view that, well, you know, if we win, we've beaten you without Thierry Henry, and that's a massive dent in your motivation and in your kind of next few weeks and in the psyche. And if you're up, and if you're not, then you can bring it on with 20 minutes to go, and hopefully you're fairly close. And you can have that excuse to say, oh, well, we didn't play Thierry Henry.
I think the other thing it would do was make Thierry a little bit angry. I actually went to a game where he came off the bench and scored a hat-trick. I think he wasn't impressed.
Yeah. I guess other fantasy relevant news is so Johnny Makalai comes onto the wing with Nadolo on the other. Again, that's probably something to do with Fiji, but I know that I did see that Johnny Inoko was floating around in training, but I don't think he's fit, obviously. Cody Taylor's probably decent news for Crusader front row owners. I think that's pretty good news, but I was a little bit surprised to see Nathan Harris benched as well, just as the Chiefs front row were becoming a viable proposition for fantasy rugby draft. It was a very strange thing for naming all over for me for Dave Rennie, because he was preaching midweek about how he was going to rest some of his players that had a heavy workload during the internationals, and those two players obviously were Kane and Retallick as the heavy workloads, but he's gone the other way. The two guys that were effectively not playing out of lot, Nathan Harris and Cruden, he's put on the bench. It just seemed a bit strange to me. For those that didn't hear, we discussed Charlie Ngatai. Have you heard anything in the last 4 days? The last update I had was when he left the All Black camp. It was quite worrying. He said to the coach on Monday that he was okay coming back. You know, he felt as though his head was back in the space, and he'd been cleared by the doctors, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I think I read that in an article somewhere. But Rennie said, "Oh, look, it's going to take him a couple of weeks to get up to speed with the moves and training and fitness as well." Have you heard anything this week?
Nothing at all. Nope.
No. Definitely silence, unfortunately. You want to say anything more about this game?
It almost feels to me like the Chiefs they're not targeting this game in a strange way.
Strange, right?
That's my kind of gut feeling, which would make no sense, but that's sort of what it feels like. Like this has got Crusaders win sort of written all over it. It's almost like, well, we'll take this one and we'll kind of move on. Like they're looking at games further down the line and thinking that's where we're going to get our points. I don't know. I mean, that's just my thoughts.
Can't be doing that though, because this is a home game for them.
No, I agree. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but
no. Look, it does look like that. No, I agree. All right, Brumbies Reds. By all accounts, it's going to be freaking freezing in Canberra. So there's been quite a few changes in both of these teams. So Ben Hine comes in at number 8 with Jared Butler going to 7 for the Brumbies. And the halfback is probably for fantasy relevance, as Thomas Kubeli has been benched at a very inopportune time. I assume that's just to do with international resting. Is that how you read that?
Apparently he's only just come back from Argentina, so I think it would be something to do with travel.
Yeah, that's right. For the Reds, so they've named Jack Tuttle at 15 and Henry Tafu at 12. I know Fainga was injured. I'm not entirely sure. I know Carmichael was injured as well, but he's in the Wallaby camp at some point as well. But yeah, Jack Tuttle comes in. Not much known about him, to be fair. I had to reach out to Rugby Reg to try and get a little bit of info from him, the Green and Gold Rugby chaps. And yeah, by all accounts, schoolboy star, Broncos under 20, bit of sevens. I suspect he's got a bit of pace to him, but yeah, this might be a bit of a tough matchup for the Reds with the Brumbies. Got a lot of players coming back from internationals with a point to prove. So Chris F. Sater is injured, and the other name I guess people are looking for is Joe Tamani. Have you heard anything about Big Joe? I did see actually an Instagram of David Pocock, and he was talking about having a hand session in the fog this morning with Tamani, and that wasn't as average as it sounded.
No, I think I might have read something similar. The impression I got was that Tamani was almost available or possibly available but just not match fit or something along those lines. I would expect to see him probably next week.
Yep, I think so too. I agree. Just a bit of a side note. I saw a funny don't know where I saw it actually, but it was PC Gone Mad, and it was talking about David Pocock was having an interview, and it must have been an American interview or been broadcast on American TV because they had hashtagged out the last half of his name in terms of censorship. So it was David Poe Hash.
That is ridiculous.
Do you remember when Tyson Gay had that happen to him?
No.
You know, they there was some autocorrector and it was Tyson homosexual. Really bad. Sunwolves Waratahs. We just got a Sunwolves team as well. No Tusapisi. He broke his thumb. I haven't heard a timetable. That kind of blindsided me. Did it blindside you too?
Breaking a thumb?
Yeah.
Is that how he broke it?
How he broke it? Yeah, he did it in the shower. No, and he did it playing for Samoa apparently. And Andrew Duratalo's not playing as well, so they've got a couple of changes in there, but I'm not sure they're too fantasy relevant, to be honest. That Tamura player that came in previously didn't exactly cover it in glory, and this is probably going to be a bit of a tough game. Although I do think the Australian odds have been really, really short. The Green and Gold Rugby chaps are talking about this on their podcast. Some of the odds for the Waratahs to win. Now, I expect them probably to win, but not by the points margin that the TAB are expecting. They're always pretty tough up there, just I guess it. And this probably goes for everyone, right? It just depends how each of these teams shape up coming back from internationals, because I suspect the Sunwolves have got a heavy slant of Japanese players in there. So the Waratahs, they've brought Naiyaravoro straight into the team onto the left wing. Rob Warren continues at 12, and Dave Dennis goes to number 8. What do you make of Naiyaravoro, and how confident are you? Because I know a lot of folks before the international break had picked him up as that kind of, well, he could carry me to, fantasy glory. Is that your view as well? Let's just look at it for this week, actually.
He'll score 2 tries in this game.
I like it.
You heard it here first. No, I do think he'll go well, actually. I think the most surprising thing for me out of the team announcement was actually that Folau was playing. Because at the back of my mind, I had him being rested for this.
So Phipps was rested, right? But I thought, I wondered where they were going to rest Foley as well. Because he'd played a lot, and you could see in that last test match that he just... actually you could see it in the first test match too, his leg just wasn't getting much distance off his punts. He looked tired. With back to Naiyaravoro, I'm going to list you a few players and I'll see where you might come down on them. So Corey Jane or Naiyaravoro? Jane playing the Blues?
Oh, Naiyaravoro, definitely.
Milani Nanai at 15 for the Blues.
Can I interject here? Who do you think of this list you're going to name? Who would you rank as the top player?
So the list is Corey Jane, Milani Nanai, Viljoen, Jack Wilson plus Ryan Tongia, Johnny Makalai, Tony Pulu, all the Sharks outside backs and all the Bulls outside backs.
Okay, I like Naiyaravoro over all of those guys.
Do you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Not even playing the Kings, Wilson Tongia.
No,
that piqued your interest?
No, we'll come to that, but no, I don't think so. I mean, Naiyaravoro in this game is at some point is just going to fall over the line for at least 1 try, probably 2. It just seems inevitable.
Yeah, no, it does. No, yeah, it does. I might. The problem is I couldn't tell you whether it's going to be Jack Wilson or Tongia, right? I suspect one of them is going to go quite well, but I wouldn't like to nail my colours to the mast. Yeah, I think Naiyaravoro will be there as well. Corey Jane and Milani Nanai, I suspect that'll be a bit of a New Zealand derby. The same with Johnny Makalai and Tony Pulu.
Viljoen's not playing, right?
Pardon me?
Viljoen's not playing, is that correct?
No, Viljoen is playing.
He is playing? Okay.
Yep, so I thought about him as well. I actually quite like him. I've got a couple of questions from a few other folks about that I'll bring up tomorrow, but yeah, I actually quite like him. So back to it, I'll probably go Naiyaravoro of that bunch. Yep. We haven't really heard a Bulls team. I understand the Sharks, or we'll get onto that in a minute, but they've got a tough matchup against the Lions, so yeah, I think that's probably fair. Alright, let's go into Hurricanes Blues, unless you had anything more for that.
I don't.
Okay, Hurricanes Blues. So I think we were all kind of half expecting / hoping that Laumapi might be somewhere in the mix, but he pulled a groin, I believe, in the international break. And the other injury that was picked up at training was Blade Thompson, dislocated his shoulder at training. So Lord knows what they were doing in the break. That seems bonkers to me. And Matu'u, the hooker, picked up an injury playing for Samoa. So your hired hitman, Ricky Riccitelli, comes onto the bench.
Love it.
One point to note around the Blues team as well is George Moala. So there was a pretty damning prognosis coming out of the international break that he might be out for quite some time, but he's already back in training apparently. We did ask to kind of pump the brakes a little bit until we had the internal doctor to look over him, and apparently he wasn't too far away from playing this week, but Tana just said, look, we'll take a bit gently with him. The other change, well, there's a few changes in the Blues team, but they have Milani Nanai at 15 and your mate Matt Duffy on the right wing. And the good news, we always talk about bad news and injuries here, but the good news is Blake Gibson's coming back from injury. Now, he only starts from the bench in this game, but I think in the next couple of games he's probably going to have value for you. Anyone from this game that you wanted to look at? I expect that you're thinking this is probably going to be a bit of a tussle as well.
I am. Yeah, I'm definitely tempering expectations, I guess, with both of these teams. Obviously, there's people that you start because chances are that, Beauden Barrett, that goes without saying, but obviously, with people like TJ Perenara, there's no doubt you're going to be playing them. Ihai West, I think if he's your number one, you're probably playing him. Chances are you have a better option. I guess we could look at, say the Fred Zelingas of the world and ask that kind of question maybe when it comes to West. But he's a proven performer. I think other than that, but I am tempering the expectations just generally. I'm not crazy about Corey Jane, haven't been for a while. Even Julian Sevilla, I think, if you've got him, you're probably starting him. But there'll be a lot of teams out there that made the semis because they're really strong, and if you've got other options, I might look away from that. So, for instance, if I had Nayara or Sevilla, I'd play Nayara.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's crazy to think we're thinking about that, aren't we? Sevilla's been not in some great nick.
No, and it's partly him, and it's also I just find the Hurricanes midfield a little bit uninspiring. They don't seem very creative to me.
No, it is. Arso Proctor they keep persevering. They wanted it, didn't they? Boyd wants that midfield for some reason, but it's only really clicked once. Okay. Anything more from this game?
No.
Okay. So we don't have a team for Rebels Stormers yet. We don't have a team for Cheetahs, but we do have one for the Force. And John O'Lance is back in starting. So that's fantastic news. I have high hopes for him in this game against the Cheetahs. I probably would be starting him ahead of players like Ihai West. I'm trying to think of any on that kind of range as well. Whoever's starting for the Stormers, whoever's starting for the Rebels, whoever's starting for the Bulls. John O'Lance was playing well before he got injured. Are you as fired up about John O'Lance as I am?
I guess not, because he's a player that I like the player, and I guess I've looked at him now that I know that he's back. But I still have some nagging doubts. More about this fixture, I actually think that this could be quite a handy Cheetahs win.
Ooh, here we go. I like this. This is a bet coming out because I actually thought the Force might get up.
Okay, interesting.
I've got a theory. Do you want a theory?
Okay, go for it.
So we know that the Force have a substantial South African base. They're all going to be back home. They're going to be wives and family all through Bloemfontein. They love to go to Bloemfontein on holiday. Lovely place, apparently. So they're all going to be there cheering them on. They're going to want to get up. They've got the South African coach, or interim coach, if you will. They want to play for him first up, and John O'Lance is back. It's the perfect storm. What could go wrong?
if this game was in Durban, you might have a point about the holiday thing.
That's true.
But you started going off the reservation immediately. No, I mean, I'd be prepared to definitely take that bet. I think the Cheetahs will run out here. I think it's the kind of fixture that kind of suits them. You know, they've been pretty good at home, and when they've played teams that you'd consider, lesser teams, they've actually done pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't mind. Are you going to give me points?
Sure. How many do you want?
Lots.
So you really are confident here.
No, I'm happy to take it straight up. Man's bet.
Okay.
Might as well do it. So for this game, we're probably going to have to field your start bench questions when they come through on Friday for the Cheetahs team. Kings Highlanders. Haven't seen a Kings team yet, but we have seen a Highlanders team. So again, for those that didn't join us for the Facebook Live session on Monday, we knew that the Smiths, Feketoa, Elliot Dixon and Naholo were left back at home and didn't travel to South Africa. And next week they'll be joining up with the team in Buenos Aires, whereas Sopawanga and Liam Squire caught the plane late. And I just saw a tweet from Lima about 10 minutes before I jumped on here saying that he's joined up with the team for the first time, back into training for the first time, which is probably the reason why he's not starting.
I think that I'm not as high on the Highlanders as a lot of people will be. A lot of people will look straight at this fixture and think, this has got points written all over it. And it's not that I'm saying that the Highlanders won't play well and probably run out handy-ish kind of winners, but you're taking the entire spine of the team away. I think expecting this to be the on-paper Highlanders versus Kings clash that, you normally would have expected if you looked at the fixture list 2 or 3 weeks ago, it's just not going to be that kind of game, I don't think.
No, I know. And also Patrick Osborne, right? So he's come off. He's on the bench as well. I wonder how much game time those guys get. You know how we're talking about the Old Trafford thing? It's like, I wonder if they're hoping that this might be a free rest for them. That they, like Jack Wilsons of the world and the Marty Banks and the Faddis, or they play, 80 minutes.
80 minutes. But we're hoping that that's the way it goes.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's probably fair. And that's why, I think if I had to nail my colours to the mast, I'd say that it might be the Highlanders by sort of 15, maybe.
Okay, all right, yeah.
But it's not going to be the, I don't think it'll be the 50 points that a lot of people would probably be expecting.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's really difficult when you take a whole team, effectively, 7 of your best players aren't starting. So yeah, I actually quite like Rob Thompson in this game. This looks like just the type of kind of little bit of selfish under the arm type game for him. Okay, so you don't rate Banks all that highly. So if you went, actually I forgot to ask you, where would you put Stephen Donald? You'd play, who were we just talking about before? Ihia West over Donald?
Yes.
Okay. John O'Lance?
Yeah, I think I probably would, yeah.
Over Donald?
Yes.
Okay, alright. Yeah, I mean, to be fair to Beaver, he did have a storming run out against Wales.
Yeah. No, he did.
He's must have been targeting that game for about 3 years.
That's right.
All right. Anything more from this game? Ryan Tongi are on the wing as well, and Jack Wilson. Again, I can't split them. I can't tell you which one's going to be better. I suspect one of them will go okay, but you might have to live with the performance.
I just think that the majority of the teams that have probably got this far have probably got better options than those two guys. Mm-hmm. At least more reliable options. I think both of those guys are dice rolls, and you probably didn't get this far by rolling the dice.
Yeah.
I've seen the odd pickup that I think to myself, actually that's just somebody who's probably doesn't want the player used against him.
Yeah, I do that. That's right. I do that.
Yeah.
But if you've got, Johnny McNichol, Willie LaRue, Joe Tamani, if you're holding on to these players, that you maybe have to scratch around for someone like that. But yeah, you're right. It is a dice roll. Well, I think Tongi probably is less of a dice roll than Wilson, but just because they're playing the Kings. That's the only thing I'd say.
And Tongia has actually performed when he's got starts.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Lions Sharks, as we talked about, Willie LaRue's out for 6 weeks, absolute disaster. My sources tell me, thank you, Mr. Source, you know who you are, a back three possibly of Mvovo, Undungani and JP, which, I hate to say it, that gives JP quite a bit of value, not necessarily in this game, but in the last 2 games, which are playing the Cheetahs and the Sunwolves. That's decent. Yeah, to be fair, he played quite well against Ireland, JP Peterson. He looks okay.
Yeah, he did all right.
Yeah, I'm a pretty harsh critic of him. Michael Hall asks Rohan or Zas. Now, we don't know if either of these two... Actually, you know what? Sorry, Michael. Well, let's shelve that until we actually get a team, and we'll go from there. It's really hard to tell, what the Stormers are going to put out and what the Lions are going to put out. So drop us a tweet tomorrow or jump on that Facebook Live and we can go there. And we talked about Warren Whiteley out for the season. Do you have any more news, Lions, Sharks, apart from Faf de Klerk's fabulous haircut that the green and gold rugby guys pointed out on there? They've got, I don't know if you listened to it this morning, they've got the top lids of the Southern Hemisphere, and they called out Israel Dag, which you and I have talked about plenty of times.
Absolutely, yeah, we have. I guess the only other piece of news, you might have touched on it outside of the podcast, but it would just be Lambie, of course.
Yeah, that's right. So it sounded as though he was very late into the concussion protocol, and he's still having those recurring symptoms. Now, I know Garth April was a little bit sick at the start of the week, but he's probably going to come in and play now. Sick doesn't generally stop you playing Super Rugby. Haware's Bulls. A few folks have been asking us around Warwick Hillant, so they've obviously missed a little bit of news there. I don't think it was actually broadcast that widely anyway, but so he's out for the season as well, and he's done his knee, so that's just an absolute disaster for someone that we were hoping was going to be, that promised land, that big point scorer in the playoffs with those Bulls runs. How do you think the Jags will go coming back into camp? Because everyone thought that going out of camp, Argentina might actually be better. They might be able to put the Jaguars Warriors behind them, or the Hawarees Warriors behind them, and have a fresh start in the Argentina team. Do you think they're going to think that now, coming back to the Warriors?
Well, I guess the flip side is they've had a bit more time training together, because most of them are in there.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, let's face it was difficult to know what to make of them at the best of times. So.
Oh, it is, and again, it's difficult to keep track on a lot of their injuries as well. So let's see what their team news come. Now, again, this is a late game. I think it's a 10 a.m. kickoff in New Zealand time for this game. So you expect the teams tomorrow, roughly about that time. I suspect the Bulls will announce theirs overnight, being socially aware that they want to do it when the South African folks are awake and watching. So probably about tomorrow afternoon for the Bulls, but tomorrow morning for the Jags. Tonight for the Bulls, tomorrow afternoon for the Jags. Do you want to have anything more about the week?
No, just the fact, obviously, the Facebook Live thing. So that's something new for us, something new and exciting, and should be interesting. We've not tried it before. And obviously we'll have the full list of teams then, so we'll be in a bit better position possibly to comment on some of these selection headaches.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, the Facebook Live session we did on Monday night, it's good. It's really great to have that instant kind of feedback and questions and that kind of Q&A. It's a little bit unnerving for someone who's not particularly comfortable in front of the camera, but after a few beers in the pub before a Crusaders Chiefs game, I'm sure we can come up with something.
Well, I think I pointed this out to you, but the chair that you were sitting in while you were doing it, your shirt was black, the chair was black, and the chair was up behind your shoulders. Effectively, you just looked like you had no neck. It was quite an odd effect.
That was the effect I was going for. They coined that the Gladstone Small effect.
There was something kind of almost Dr. Evil about it as well.
That's right. I've got a chocolate lab. I need to get myself a white cat. Keep the reviews coming in. We really appreciate you guys taking the time. If you like the podcast, get anything out of it, then just take a couple of minutes to throw something on iTunes, good or bad. We've got one from Agent C from Canada. Agent C, what do you think that represents apart from Canada?
Oh no, he's the third best agent.
Yeah, could be. I listen to these podcasts every week, not only for the fantasy draft game, but the humour and the general information provided by the guys. Thanks, Agent C. So far for the Drafties, so I've decided to call our end-of-season award the Drafties. What do you reckon? Can we do better?
No, that's
all right.
Well, I'm sure we can, but but not right now. So let's
motivation time. Yeah, sure. So far for the categories, we've got obviously the main ones with like MVP, biggest bust, the team of the season, and we've also got a couple of ones like the best performance in a comedic moment. We've got a few nominees for that. But yeah, keep those categories coming in. It would be really good to get you guys to have a few user type categories. See if you can come up with some clever ones. A quick reminder around who the top managers were going into the playoffs as well. So number 5 was Sean Kirby, number 4 Ian Strusner, number 3 Franco Duplessis, number 2 Luke Crombie, and number 1 Sam Konoski. So just to kind of remind it, to be the top overall manager, you have to win your league. So you 5 are on notice. And also we asked a bunch of you guys to send us through a bit of a testimonial, a bit of a video clip of what you like, what you don't like of the site and playing with it and out in the pub and in a cafe. They're really, really great. It is going to go a long way to spreading the good word. We aim to knock up a bit of a collage of them and add them to the site at some point. Really good though, so keep those ones coming in, but for the guys that have already sent them through, thanks a lot. Again, a reminder about our Facebook Live tomorrow at 6:30 for your start bench questions. A little teaser. So we've analysed last season's Aviva Premiership stats, and we've overlaid the Fantasy Rugby draft scoring. So we're going to challenge you. We'll start at the start of the 6:30. Challenge you to see if you can name anyone in the top 10 in overall total points. So a little bit of a teaser for you there. A little bit of admin as well. You can follow us on Twitter at Fantasy Rug Draft. That's Fantasy RUG Draft. So that's going to be quite useful and quite pertinent this game week because we haven't crossed too many start bench questions. And if you're not going to be at that Facebook Live session, then maybe you drop it on social or drop us a note on Facebook as well. If you want to do it behind closed doors, send us a mail at support@fantasyrugbydraft.com. Mossman is on at Nathan Mossman if you want to get a balanced view on life. That's about all time we have for today. Thanks for downloading and listening. I'm Bruce Wilkinson. He's Nathan Mossman.
See you in the pub.
I'll see you repeat.
What a bust here by Christian Cullen. Plenty of support and what a dummy.